Episode 5 of the It's a Pandemic and a Revolution Social Distancing Planet Ant Training Center live streaming show.
Whoa.
Has it already been 5 weeks?
It's been 5 weeks of doing just this show, Andy.
Wow. We've come so far. We've come so far, in fact, that we have our first two-time guest.
Yay! And it's me.
Yeah, we finally have, we're finally repeating guests now.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? Oh, I gotta get the chat up. Hey, everybody out there in the world. Lauren, I'll send you the chat link as well if you don't have it. What is going on? What is that noise? Oh, that's
Andy's typing into his phone.
I'm sharing the stream so we can get a bunch of beautiful improvisers talking with us about improv. We are here chatting about performing, and whatever else you guys want to talk about. So comment, ask some questions. If there's any performance related questions you're interested in, if there's anything you've been particularly thinking about improv wise during all of this. Or you just want to get some sage advice from 3 of the most beautiful people you've ever seen in your life, comment questions and we'll talk about them.
Oh, we will.
Oh, my God.
Facebook user says, hi, Lauren.
Yay.
Hi, Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but thank you.
Nobody does. That's the way they like it, I think.
Yeah.
I like the mystery already.
Guys, we made some incredible discoveries here before we started the show as we were getting set up tech-wise. I don't remember how... Oh, we were talking about The View. Whoopi Goldberg came up, and I did some Googling. And guys, in a New York Times magazine article, the writer asked her, you were born Karen Johnson. How did you wind up with the name Whoopi? And here's her answer, guys. Here's the thing. When you're performing on stage, you never really have time to go into the bathroom and close the door. So if you get a little gassy, you've got to let it go. People used to say to me, you're like a whoopee cushion, and that's where it came from. So she's built an entire career. She's an Oscar winner, and her name is because she got real farty on stage one time.
Who hasn't? I mean, let's just... If we can be honest with ourselves.
Everyone definitely gets farty, but it's very few people that have a nickname centered around it.
Yes. That it happened to you so much that all your performing friends started calling you Whoopi.
Oh, there goes Whoopi.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have gone a different way. I mean, Whoopi could be just called Farty Goldberg. And we would all be like, okay, Farty Goldberg. Yeah. We know where that nickname comes from.
Yeah. Oh, there's my old theater buddy, Gas Pain.
How many friends do you guys have that have nicknames based off farts?
My brother had a friend in high school, and they called him Poopy.
Poopy. Did he poop a lot, or did he just
have
a poop incident?
I think it might have been because he had like a skid mark or something.
Oh no!
Or it was something. I don't know. If my brother Raymond is watching, please tell us the story of why Poopy was named Poopy, because his real name was Robert or something like that.
Robert.
Well, I didn't think his real name was Poopy, Lauren, but...
No, I was just telling you his real name. I know.
No, his first name is Poop, and his middle name is Entertainment, like Chuck E. Cheese.
There you go.
There was that kid on Growing Pains whose name was Boner.
Yeah. I always thought that was super weird. I would be watching it as like a 13-year-old, and I was like, they named him Boner, and I mean, I was a kid that, like, you know, knew that boner used to mean like goof or like a mistake or like something dumb or like, oh, what a boner, you know what I mean? Back in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, like it didn't have the same connotation, but I mean, those writers knew full well that a boner meant erection at that point. You know?
Yeah,
come on.
Definitely. That's like the writers of Happy Days absolutely knew what they were doing when they made Fonzie's catchphrase "sit on it."
Yes.
There's only one logical object to conclude what he means by "sit on it," and guess what? It's his dick.
Yep. That's what Fonzie was talking about the whole time.
Yeah. Sit on this.
And now he's one of the coolest people that ever existed.
His jacket is in the Smithsonian.
Yep.
Yes, that is the quintessential definition of American success. If you get a piece of clothing in the Smithsonian.
Yeah. Something that iconic gets in the Smithsonian. I mean, you know, if Andy's beard or my glasses get in the Smithsonian.
Sure. Lauren, if you had one thing from your life, one thing that defined you and would go to the Smithsonian, what would that object be?
I mean, can I show you? Because it's right on my TV stand.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
I like
Oh my God, I'm so excited. What could it possibly
out to JG Bryant and everyone else on the Boner is dead, somebody said.
Oh no.
Too soon.
In the show?
In the
show or
so it would be the Caligaris trophy from Hamburger Tuna that that Ali Oxenfree talks to, and he's like, "Why, Uncle Klaus? Yes. Why?" This would be my thing to go. And lovely Nick Latimer made this, and I cherish it. I have like a little Hamburger Tuna shrine on my TV stand. That's and nice. It has the VHS of my Big Fat Greek Wedding next to it, and then a little like trinket that Quentin got us too. So it's just it all fits together.
I do enjoy keeping souvenirs from shows.
Yeah.
I between writing for the college paper and professionally magazine writing, I was publishing newspaper stuff for 8 years, and at a certain point I got lazy about collecting my clips and stopped making sure I had a copy of every newspaper I had a story in, and now I'm kind of bummed that I don't have all that stuff.
Yeah.
So when I started to perform, I was like, I am going to have a poster at least from every show that I write, direct, or perform in, just to have them and know that I'll always remember them. So I do have all of those, and I've had like the first play I was ever in was a Margaret play called shit. What was that show called?
It was really good though.
It was really
what was the
good.
Name?
Armchair dating. Armchair
dating. Yes, I remember. Yep.
And Tara was the director, and she had her husband paint a painting of a toilet, because my character was an artist who was in this like mode where all he was painting was toilets.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still have that canvas painting by Stu of a toilet hanging up in my bathroom.
That's awesome. Stu's a great artist too. He's got some great comics for sale if you're interested. Contact Tara Reid, who can help you with or Tara. Why did I say Tara Reid? Jesus Christ, Tara Reyes.
I don't know.
Tara Reyes. Yeah. Tara and Stu Reyes. Hi, Jeremy Gregg. Shout out to Jeremy Gregg from Atlanta.
Oh, yes.
Long-time Ant student.
Yes. Jeremy, we're talking improv. People can comment questions about performing or whatever else, and we'll try to help you out in any way we can. And I don't know why certain Facebook users are not. Yeah. We don't know.
It's saying
that's
Facebook
why I keep going
user
back and
for
forth
some
to
people.
the Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook user asked, "Did you open the Black Box bar or not yet?" No.
That's actually if you go to the stream on the Planet Ant Training Center, all those comments are comments on the post. They're not comments on the live stream. I think if you want us to see your name in the multi-thread stream thing, you gotta jump in to the actual stream of the show and comment in the show. But if you comment on the post, I think it's different, and so it doesn't show your name, weirdly. But I got both open anyways. So Jeremy Gregg out in Harrisburg, PA, since February. That'd be great to get some other perspectives on improv. Having you've been in Atlanta for a while and now in PA, so it's good.
Well, he moved there. It says as of February, so I don't know how established he's going to be in the improv community.
Yeah, I don't think so. You had 1 month.
Yeah, you had 1 month to become intimately acquainted with the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania improv scene. But maybe you hadn't had a chance to do that yet. But yes, anonymous Facebook user, we have not opened any of our spaces yet. Nope. We have no immediate plans, no timetable to do so. Our goal is to ensure the safety of our wonderful artistic community. And the only way we can do that right now is to keep our doors shuttered. We're providing these streams. This specific stream is centered around the art of improv, talking about it, having people have their questions answered about it. We've got other streams about cooking, about I had to do another one about The Simpsons. We've got Mask Off on Friday. That's an awesome show and very poignant right now. That's been mostly centered around race relations. So that is our connection to the community right now. If you're interested in checking out stuff that the Ant has to offer, I suggest liking the Planet Ant on Facebook and following any of these streams we're putting out on a nightly basis.
Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. It doesn't do you any harm. Shout out to Ray Dupree, who I've gotten to know through playing video games, and who is a very fine Dupree. I really enjoy Ray Dupree quite a bit, and it's been fun to get to know Ray through video games, and I know you and Michael, of course, through Planet Ant, Lauren. But the third mysterious Dupree, just like the third mysterious McGettigan of my family, that doesn't come out to the shows and stuff.
How much
Ray comes to the shows? He just doesn't want to perform, which we've been wanting him to perform for years.
Well, he did say that he was thinking when this stuff dies down, he's going to take classes. He's
going to.
He said that, so I don't know. I think he sounded like he kind of wants to. I mean, he's got a good comedic mind for it. So.
Oh, he has a wonderful comedic mind. He's been writing for the show.
Hell yeah, I'll be slipping into Planet Ant's DMs pretty soon, he says.
Of course he has to word it that way.
Jeremy Gregg says there's one small theater in Harrisburg. He's seen some shows there, and that it's a kind of similar to the Ant. The owners live on the second floor. I'm always extremely fascinated in smaller markets like that and their improv community.
Yeah.
It's very cool to me that somewhere like Harrisburg actually has a dedicated space. And then you go to smaller cities, and it's usually just a group of people trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And they're in Toledo, I believe they rent space in a reception hall or something to try to do stuff like that. Until very recently, there wasn't a dedicated improv theater in Grand Rapids. They just launched one very recently on the back of an improv community that was just kind of a group of people that wanted to do it. It's very cool to watch that happen. It usually goes from people that are interested in it start to get together. They usually start with short form and then start figuring things out. I always dig meeting a group from somewhere like that who's kind of making their way of it.
Mahmood, I'm not sure what you meant by is it difficult to make a Planet Ant app? I mean, that could be done, but a lot of apps are just basically links to web pages. That's what most of them do. So it's kind of like just having a Planet Ant link to the Planet Ant website on your phone. That's basically what it would be, which you could do on your own as well.
Yeah. You can just make it on your home screen. It's super easy on on Apple or Android.
Lauren, give everyone a tutorial really quick.
A tutorial? I don't know if I want to do that. I'm just saying I mean, if you want help, just message me. I'll help you. I have no problem.
Ray's chiming in about Grand Rapids Improv, good spot for improv. It's weird that most of the bars and pubs don't do an improv pub type thing.
It's a wonderful idea. I love it.
Tim David commenting, if I were to take classes at the Ant, would I have to start at the first class, or will any of my Go classes carry over? This is a question that we get a lot. Andy and I get this question a lot. And what we usually respond is that, yeah, if you have a lot of improv experience, you can absolutely start wherever, you can start at a later point in our system. But our system is mainly focused on a long-form improv type of thing. Long-form improv experience. And part of that experience is getting to group with an ensemble.
Yeah.
And I think
which is so important.
It's super important. But another one of those things is that you may think that, oh, I'm done with the essentials. I'm done with the basics. And now I just want to dig into some more in-depth stuff with improv. But I can speak from my own experience and tell you that, to me, some of the most successful people in the world are people that commit to reintroducing the basics to themselves on a constant basis. Even it crosses over into sports. It crosses over into a lot of different types of skills. The people that are the best are the people that don't put themselves above practicing the basics. And it feels like sometimes you're taking a step back, but it's not the same as learning something like math, for example. Like if you're learning math, you're learning some things that are like, stuff that you can have, that you can reference in a book. But with improv is a skill like learning to hit a tennis ball or learning to walk a tightrope. And those things are things that you have to practice. And those things are things that you need to put yourself into a place of, I'm going to commit to just doing the essentials and practicing them, because practice is what improv is all about. Go ahead.
The three art forms: improv, hitting a tennis ball, and tightrope walking.
Those are just the three that I know of.
Yeah. So we do every time we start a new term. Obviously, right now everything's on hiatus until we don't know when. But every time we do start a new term, we hold auditions within our training center, and they are for our current students. At the end of the intro classes, we hold an audition for intro for the intro for students to advance to intermediate 1. We've never held anyone back. We've never denied anybody from that audition. Mm-hmm. What it mainly is there for is for our students to start to learn what it looks like and what it feels like to audition for improv. Because if this is a skill set you want to continue after classes, if it's a art form you want to get better at, you will eventually at some point face an improv audition, and they're very different from other types of auditions. And then we hold another one for students going from intermediate 3 to advanced 1. When we get this question like that Tim asked, we will open a spot in one of those auditions for students who have experience, who want to maybe hop in. Our recommendation is almost always start at 1 so you understand the Ant philosophy and you build a rapport with this group. That is my first improv troupe was my intro 1 class, Greenhouse. And it's almost that's the story with everybody that comes through the Ant. So we almost always recommend starting at 1, and that's always our what we think is the best way to do.
So what's the difference between an acting audition and an improv audition? Ray Dupree asks. The main difference between an acting audition and an improv audition is what you're performing. In improv, you are improvising. In improv audition, you're improvising. In an acting audition, generally, you get to come prepared with 1 or 2 monologues, possibly a song, depending on what you're doing. With improv, if you're auditioning for an improv specific thing, like a team or a spot in a show or something like that, which requires improv, we need to see you improvise. And so usually our improv auditions are composed of a couple different things. Usually there's like a beginning intro warm-up type thing, and then we pair you guys off into scenes, and you guys will do 2 to 3 minute scenes, maybe just once. And then the third time, the third part of that is a big group thing that brings everybody together. And we're always looking to see what people will be good at in those. And it might not be exactly what you think, because we're not looking for the most hilarious scene. Sometimes the comedy can come out of a lot of different things, and it's not exactly the specific marker that we're looking for. But when we're watching an improv audition, we're watching people to see how well they play with other people. We're watching to see how well their stage etiquette is, whether they're a dick to other people just standing there on the back line, or trying to get attention and fighting for attention and fighting to be noticed is not a good thing. We want people to be cooperative.
I'll say this about improv auditions for anybody out there that will do one sometime in the future. If there's a big, silly, stupid game, don't blow it off in the audition.
Yeah.
For us, we almost always use a game called Hotspot at the beginning of our auditions, and it's a singing game. You sing songs, and the theme will be something like love, and somebody sings a love song. They're real songs, and then the next person will steal focus and start singing a song that reminds them, that was reminded of them from the previous song, or just something to do with the theme of love. If you are sitting on the back line during Hotspot in an audition and you don't come out once, I am not going to cast you. The goal of that game is not to be a good singer. It's not to be funny or whatever. It's to see that you're letting loose, and to see that you're supporting the people on stage. If somebody runs out of steam in their song, I want to see you jump out and help them out.
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking for in improv. So,
a good supportive team member for sure.
Yes. People who know how to pace things, how to edit stuff, and how to support each other. And that's just a tip for anybody that's going to be auditioning. I'm very interested. Jeremy Gregg says auditioning in other cities is very different. I've never auditioned for anything in Atlanta or elsewhere. I'd love to know what you mean, and what something like this looks like down there. All of these communities are different. We do a lot of the same stuff, but there's also giant differences in the community, culture, and performance style of every city and theater. So.
I mean, heck, every single city, every single market for improv has different names for the games that we play, but they're all the same games.
Do you ever teach dramatic improv? Who asked that?
I think that was Tim. Was that
Tim David again?
Yeah, Tim. Well, I personally have used improv many times in dramatic plays when I've had to go off script because somebody dropped a line or whatever. I've used improv in every single acting experience that I've ever had. It's been incredibly helpful for any serious acting. Now, what is the difference between comedic improv and dramatic improv? It's basically in the details, and it's basically in the character. You can kind of temper how big your character is going to go, or what the crazy details that you're getting lost in are. Either one of those things can add to the comedy, but it can also, if it's tuned to be a lot more grounded, can just be more realistic. So improv is an incredibly good acting tool for straight theater as well as comedic and comedy. Yeah. So it's not like it's specifically tuned for one thing or another. I mean, improv in the United States was officially started by a person that was trying to get immigrants to feel more comfortable communicating and taking chances with each other in a communication sense, because they all felt a little scared to talk to people. So, that's where its roots were from. The reason that comedy is one of the things that came out of improv is because it naturally lends itself to authenticity and connection between people, which can be very funny a lot of the time.
Yeah. Dramatic improv is my wife is dying. And
that's not comedic. That's still comedic.
Comedic improv.
That's still comedic.
No, it's just because I'm so naturally charming.
Dying.
And comedic improv is my wife got blown up by fireworks. There it is very difficult not only to do a successful dramatic scene, or just very grounded, unfunny, like purposefully unfunny scene, because especially in front of audiences, the knee-jerk reaction of 99% of improvisers is going to be to try to lighten it up in some way and bring the humor out. Yeah. I am always very impressed, and I see this way more when I'm with a group that I'm teaching than I do on an actual stage. And I always make sure to let them know that it takes a lot of confidence in your performing ability to see a scene like that develop and dig your heels in and say, this is what we're going to do here, and act it out naturally and be confident that it's going to be engaging and interesting without the humor. Yeah. That takes guts to do as a performer. Yeah. And it's always very interesting to see just a sweet, relationship heavy scene that's not trying to be funny. It's just trying to be what it is, watching two people come together. So yeah. I always enjoy seeing something like that.
Definitely. Lauren, what's your experience with dramatic improv versus comedy improv? Do you have any thoughts?
I've kind of had it where I've had dramatic scenes that were supposed to be comedic. Yeah. That turned more dramatic, and they were still really good scenes. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the two can go together a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
I mean, even though my show was scripted, some of the things I did with my body and with my expressions and things like that were improvised. Mm-hmm. And they were supposed to be more dramatic than they were comedic, because my character, Blake Blunders, was supposed to be this creepy person. And even though a lot of the times her over-the-top creepiness was funny, it was at times it was supposed to kind of be dramatic and scary at some points too. Yeah. So I feel like they can kind of go on the same thing sometimes.
I mean, one of the things that people feel a lot of pressure for with improv is the pressure to be funny. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think you got to knock that out right away when you start learning improv. The pressure to be if you're trying too hard to be funny, it's never funny. Right?
And it shows.
Yeah, it really shows. It's very transparent. Yeah. You're very much I can tell that person is trying way too hard,
Yeah. Definitely. And it's just better to just kind of make it feel like it's an actual event that's happening in your life, and how would you actually respond? Yeah. And it just takes you from there, really.
And that's what's so much more engaging about improv,
I always tell my students to take that pressure off of yourself, because if you go into scenes thinking I have to come up with the most clever thing, I have to have the quippiest response, you're gonna grind your gears until you bring the whole thing to a halt. Yep. Yeah. So I always say the funny will come if you just focus on getting confident in being ordinary humans in these extraordinary circumstances that we build on stage. Yeah.
Well, it's it's the subtle things in improv that make things really funny too. Like a small body movement that someone probably didn't even mean to do, but it was funny, or just whatever they're saying, it just something that's so subtle and just kind of sometimes goes over your head, and then you're like, oh my God, wait, they said that, and that brought the scene to a completely different direction. And
I think that comes naturally when you are engaged and involved in the reality of the situation that you're in. It's if you're really experiencing those things that are happening to that character in that situation, you're naturally going to have emotional leaps or weird things that you're going to say that are going to be pertinent to the scene, but it's not something that you can really externally write from. You have to kind of be in it in order to do it, Right. So there's that, bicameralness to your brain, that you have to kind of split your brain into into two different sections where you're able to kind of watch yourself and make decisions, and you got that kind of like that driver that's controlling you, and then you got the person that's actually in it and experiencing it at the same time. So it's like you got the two different things that you have to kind of combine together to make a successful improv scene.
It's a good.
You like that?
The Improvathon definitely taught me a lot about that.
Oh yes. For those of you that don't know, we do every year. We have done starting. This would be our 4th year if it's happening this year. I don't know, but somewhere around November, we have a thing called the 25-hour Improvathon, where people can get up on stage and perform for 25 entire hours as a fundraiser. We do that. Lauren and I were part of the very first group that did that. Me, Lauren, Darren, and Audra all stuck it out for 25 full hours of improv straight.
We all hallucinated too.
Oh yeah. It was very strange by the end of it. It was super weird.
I've done huge chunks of the other ones. I did the full thing finally this year.
Yeah.
And it is simultaneously grueling, and it's some of the most fun I've had on stage.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It completely changed me as a performer. Pretty much as a person too, to be honest, because you learn a lot about yourself. Your own. What?
We're talking about the Improvathon like people talk about trying mushrooms for the first time.
No. In all honesty, though, it's not that far off, because when you're up for that long, constantly performing, your brain goes to some weird places.
Yeah.
So
I can try to explain it to you, brother, but you just got to do it for yourself.
And
Von Wink says they shoot improvisers, don't they? A reference to the film They Shoot Horses, don't they? Did you ever see that about the dance marathon?
No.
There was a film about the dance. They used to do dance marathons, but they made them illegal because people started dying from them. And this is during the Depression, the Great Depression. They were offering cash prizes for dance marathons, and people were so desperate that they were signing up in droves. So there's this huge popularity for these dance marathons. But it got really dark because people were actually dying by the scores. Because these things, they would exhaust themselves to the point where they would just fall down dead. And so they had to make laws that forbade dance contests in that regard. And that film is a very sad film about that, kind of the ending of that world, and it says a lot about American society in it as well. A great film.
I have heard some of the ways that people used to entertain themselves at that point in American society, and I am just from an entertainment aspect, I don't think anybody appreciates how good we have it now.
No, it's insane.
People they would watch a bike race for 6 straight days, They would go to an indoor bike arena and watch an indoor bike race around a track for 6 days.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Well, no. I'm going to counter it, Andy. I'm just going to do a devil's advocate thing, because I will say that back then they were way more socially connected. They were way more, relaxed about how much time they were spending together, stuff like that. And I mean, that's something that, you'd talk with your neighbors, you'd hang out. I mean, I think people knew each other in ways that we don't really understand nowadays.
Okay, yeah. Another counterpoint, Mike. Around the turn of the around 1900s, the most popular sport in America was pedestrianism. Walking.
What? What is that as a sport?
Walking was the most. A guy lost a bet and walked from Washington to Boston, and a bunch of people freaked out, and then it became a thing where people were like, these two guys are going to walk from New York to Chicago, and it was the most 50,000 people would come and watch them. So yeah, I think we're doing okay entertainment wise, because we're not just watching people walk from New York to Chicago.
I don't know, Andy, that sounds like a pretty compelling live stream. If somebody started walking from Detroit to New York or something,
yeah,
I mean, I would definitely watch it.
Oh my God. That would not be good.
Yeah. People had more of an attention span pre-MTV. I mean, I don't think you can demark the specific moment that people's attention spans changed. I mean, I think you could say people had better attention spans before books were a thing. You know what I mean? I mean, you can blame pretty much any form of communication and art and its evolution as the point where things went off the rails. You know what I mean? But I think that it's just an evolution. You can't really.
I think people's attention spans were so good pre-Mozart.
Mozart just ruined.
Yeah, he ruined everybody. Also, I'm happy and glad for everybody's attention spans here because they tune in to watch us just sit here and talk about improv for an hour every Saturday.
Basically.
That takes some attention.
That says a lot for your guys' attention spans, you know? Oh, you just stole Ray's bit before he knew that you said it. I was wondering how he got that in so fast, but then he just realized that you said it. So they'll be catching up with that in a minute. It was when Beethoven played his freaking piano. And he's like,
yeah, well, if that's the kind of comedy popping around your brain, Ray, I think it's time to join the ant.
I think you're gonna fit right in, Ray.
Yeah.
We've been telling him that for years, you guys.
Yeah, I don't know why you didn't listen. I mean,
I don't know. It's kind of a slap in the face to Michael and I that the reason that Ray gets involved in Planet Ant is freaking video games. Meanwhile, he won Colony Fest, all this other stuff happened, but no, it was
why
the video
are you
games.
mad at video games?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that of course it's the video games.
Yeah,
Oh,
I did play Call of Duty with Ray one time. That game, I can't connect to it, but I've been playing Fortnite with Darren. So if Ray ever pops onto Fortnite, we can play that together.
He won't. I don't think. I think he has an aversion to it.
Raymond says he's been doing the Michael Dupree Variety Hour for years, but that I'm talking about Planet Ant, not the Michael Dupree
Well,
Variety
the Michael Dupree Variety Hour is now part of the Planet Ant Podcast Network, so that's
True.
Planet Ant.
Yeah.
True.
It is true.
Very true. That's absolutely.
So one of the things we want, we're going to start doing, and we're going to do an announcement about this soon, but you guys heard it here first. We're looking to start some digital classes back up very soon. We're talking about writing classes. Dan Tice has expressed interest in teaching a screenwriting. I'm interested in teaching writing in a couple different regards. A lot of people have taken the sketch writing classes that I teach and have developed and stuff. But there's all types of different writing. Also interested in possibly doing a thing. It's a little bit weird, but it might be kind of fun to do a live sourced play. What I mean by that is that I would be writing something and it would just be augmented by your comments and involvement in the stream. So it would be like maybe a couple hours or something like that, and people would be able to chime in about characters and developing different things, and then the resources would be able to be available online publicly, so we'd all be able to modify the thing as it goes, turn it into a one-act comedy, and see what we can do with it.
That sounds like so much fun.
I think that could be really cool. Your brother's very interested in the sketch classes, so I mean, I think I'm definitely going to be teaching some of those online. But we're also interested in sourcing ideas. We're also interested in knowing. Whoa! I just moved my desk in an unexpected way. But we're also interested in sourcing ideas from you guys. We want to know what you would like to learn from the Planet Ant, related to comedy, performance, theater, live streaming. Whatever you are interested in, we are definitely taking into account what you guys want to learn. My cat is trying to get in my room. I have to let him in, or he's going to get scratched at the door.
We're constantly learning how this works too. What kind of improv stuff can we realistically do over Zoom or Skype or whatever? I did not that long ago teach or coach a session with one of our class groups. There's HP Lovecat.
Look,
Wow.
he does not look like he's happy being
right
held.
now.
Yeah. Big boy. Oh my God. Our neighbor's sister had a litter, and they've got 2 6-week-old kittens next door. Wait, and they let us play around with it. What?
Is your neighbor's sister a cat?
Yes, our neighbor's sister, the cat.
You said your neighbor's sister had a litter, so I was just,
her cat had a litter. And we just played around with a 6-week-old kitten in our backyard, and nice. Really had to talk ourselves out of getting a third.
Oh, God, it's tempting. I mean, cats are just so fun, especially when they're kittens. They're just so crazy.
Yeah. They're the best when they're kittens.
The other night, so I don't let my cat's not a indoor outdoor or anything like that, but I do like take him outside sometimes, and I do also enjoy taking him for car rides, which I think is just really
you
fun.
do? That's so cute.
It's really fun. I like to put my cat in the car, and he likes to look out the window, and like we do stuff. We drive around.
Just you and HP driving around Hamtown.
Sometimes Audra too. Sometimes Audra. But one of the things that I the other night, so we're sitting in the office in this room right here, and suddenly I start hearing this like really tiny meow coming, and I'm like, what the heck? Where's this meow coming from? I look outside, and there's HP soaking wet and meowing up at the window, and I'm like, what the hell? How did you get outside? So I ran around the side of the house, picked him up. He was sopping wet because it had just stormed. Little idiot somehow got outside. So I was thinking, like, okay, did my brother, did he slip out when I was taking out the trash? I'm usually very careful. I don't, I would notice if he got out, but he's gotten out a couple times in the past. So I was like, okay, no big deal, whatever. So we go back to doing whatever we're doing, and then a couple hours later, we hear like this big loud noise against the screen in the office. I'm like, what the hell? I stand up, I look outside, and there's HP looking up at the window like he just tried to jump in the window.
How did he get out again?
And I'm like, how did you get out again? So we had to scour the house, and we realized that the screen in one of the bedroom windows had kind of popped out of its frame. And so he's kind of using it as a little flap to go outside and do whatever he wants to do.
No.
I'm gonna be right back.
No problem.
Always leaving.
Yeah. But anyways, my cat, he loves the outside, but of course he's a little idiot and he just doesn't know what to do. So
yeah, because he was originally an outdoor kitten.
Yeah, so he definitely was.
I remember when he walked into the ant hall.
Oh, I sure do. I remember him too. Yeah, he was an ant cat. So I mean, he really is.
Yep.
He's had his ant history. I mean, when we found him out in front of the ant, I can't remember, was it Birdie or was it who found him first? Do you remember?
Well, he kept coming in because I was working box office.
Yeah, right.
And he kept walking in, and this person's like, "There's a cat here," and I'm like, "What?" And then I just go, and little HP's just standing there.
Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, and I can't remember if it was Darren or somebody put him back outside. Well, he came right back in. And so I'm holding him like this. I'm like, there's a kitten. And Andy comes up and he's like, where'd he come from? And I'm like, I don't know. And then Andy brought him to you, and it was history after that.
Yeah. I mean, I was holding him, and then he fell asleep in my arms, and I was like, I can't adopt a cat. What am I thinking? I don't have room for a cat in my life right now. It's just too much work.
Yeah.
But he wore me down over the course of the evening, and I was just like, oh my God, I have to adopt this cat. And he walked right into the ant hall while they were showing a movie. And he walked right up to somebody in a chair and looked up at them like, oh, hey, what's up? And I'm like, this cat is so cool. I just love how relaxed he is and how, how chill and laid back.
He was super nice.
Yeah. And so then I decided that night what to name him, and I named him HP Lovecat. Because my last cat before HP was named Lyle Lovins. I like celebrity names with a love thrown into them. That's my cat naming metric nowadays.
That's really cute.
What's your cat's name, Lauren?
So this is Chicago. It's like a playoff of Chicago because of his White Sox.
Oh, okay.
Originally, he was supposed to go to my boyfriend's coworker, and he's originally from Chicago, so it was kind of like a play on both of those.
Oh.
And we have his brother too, who is over here sleeping, and we were gonna keep his brother originally, and then we just didn't want to separate them. So
that's real sweet.
Yeah,
that's real sweet. How long ago did you get them?
Well, they were born February 22nd, and we like watched them like be born. So, because we had their mama cat, who we still have. So, but yeah, this is what he does.
Your brother, or your sister-in-law Emily.
Yes.
She fosters cats, right?
She does. They haven't fostered them in a while. But yeah, she works for the Friends of the Dearborn Animal Shelter.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So if you ever want to go volunteer, that's definitely a fun place to go. But she's had multiple cats. Actually, my parents have a cat that they fostered at one point. So yeah, lots of kitties all the time. It's very fun. I love it.
You know, the aunt for a very long time, ever since I was involved with the aunt, had a aunt cat. Louis, that used to live in the black box with Hal. Mm-hmm. But he got very old and he passed, of course. But he was an ant cat for a really long time. And a lot of theaters that I've worked at actually have had like theater cats. It's like a thing, I guess. I don't know.
Well, they help with pests too, which
they definitely do.
Yeah, which like is helpful for upkeep and shows.
I think that my cat would be very confused if he ran into a mouse. I don't know if he'd know what to do.
Louis was before my time, but I know that he used to make cameos in stage productions every so often.
He sure did. And that's definitely I've had to be. Well, this was at the Abreact where we performed Cancer the Musical, a play that Sean Hanlon wrote, and we were all supposed to be in this very somber medical scene. Where we're trying to save the life of one of the main characters, and it's this song, and we're all singing it, and then the theater cat that was there in the middle of the show, packed house, sold out, Saturday night, this cat just very casually strolls right across the stage while we're all in this very somber thing, and we have to, everybody's just kind of like, you can hear that the audience is like, acknowledging the cat because everybody's like looking at this little guy walking across the stage, and I just was like used my improv and I'm like, well, that can't be sanitary, and then of course the lights got pulled and it became a big laugh, and so
oh my god, that's hilarious.
It's like you have to acknowledge those things that are happening, that the audience can see happening. So
But that's what I mean when we talk about improv and there being no such thing as a mistake on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you look at what happens on stage in that mindset, then any little thing can be pulled apart and made a big deal out of and become the crux of an entire scene.
Exactly.
But you have to be engaged enough and open and willing to accept those little gifts or.
And just listening to it, not even just with your eyes, but with your entire self. Listening is so important for improv in that regard.
Right.
You look at any of your friends or family that if you look at them, you kind of get an idea of what they're feeling at the moment. If they're pissed off at you, you can tell. If they are sad, you can tell, and they can't fool you by telling you that they're not. I mean, how many times have you had that situation? But often on stage with improv, those kinds of things are ignored. Those are exactly the kinds of things that we need to tune into. It's like, are you mad at me? Like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Those emotions are what we're looking for, baby. Yeah, exactly. We want the raw stuff.
The raw stuff. We want 10 hours of crying.
We want yelling. No, we don't.
The raw stuff. Don't give me bread, just give me that dough, baby.
Give me that dough. I'll make my own biscuits.
Just catching up on the comments. Jeremy Gregg wants a cat, but his girlfriend is allergic. I guess he's going to have to get a new girlfriend. Louis, a cute name. Improv cats. Mahmoud likes improv cats. A few neighborhood cats. Ham, Eggs, and Charlie are their names. That's cute. Yeah. I like the
I love the name.
It would have been much better if the last one was Hash Browns.
Yeah, right? I mean, Andy, you want to tell the audience your cat names?
Beverage and Sippy Cup.
I love those names so much.
It's so great. And they go together so well, too. I mean,
We went as far this morning when we were playing with the neighbor's kid and kitten that if we did add a third to the family, it would probably be named 40 Ounce.
That's hilarious.
That's really freaking cute. I love. Well, my other cat's name is Mochi, which is like that, like that little dessert.
Oh yeah.
Because my boyfriend is the head chef at Antihero, and they have the Mochi donuts.
Oh, I didn't know your boyfriend was the head chef at Antihero. That's cool.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Okay, flip your hair. Okay.
They're not open. They haven't been open since March.
No, I know. Yeah.
But yeah.
Is no takeout or anything?
No, not Antihero, but Imperial and Public House are open. So.
Yeah. Antihero's good. I enjoyed the experience when I went there. I really liked the food.
Mm-hmm. It was good. Yeah, it's good.
I believe Sam Meyer was my waiter at that establishment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would make sense because he helped open the restaurant. So yeah. Yep. Full circle, man. Full circle.
If anyone out there is interested in joining us next week as a special guest, please give a shout out in the comments or give Andy and myself a private message because we're always interested in talking to interesting people and people that have good experiences that they want to share.
Preferably people that have been or are currently involved in some capacity with the Planet Ant Training Center. If you took some classes with us, or if you are currently in classes, come on and chat about your improv experience on the stream next week.
Yeah, man, it's lots of fun.
We're here every Saturday at 5 p.m., so watch for us every week.
Cool.
Oh, hello, Cactus House.
Hello, Cactus House.
Cactus House.
Cactus House.
Are we an improv group? No, we're not exactly an improv group, Cactus House, but we are a theater. We are the longest running improv theater outside of Chicago. We are almost the longest running improv theater in the United States, from my research. If you look it up, there's not much else. I mean, this Minneapolis, Chicago, and I think New York even didn't really have anything going as an improv theater when we got started. So, I mean, we have 25 years in our little purple building on Kniff, right down the street there. And, that is compared to almost anywhere else in the world. We've been doing improv for longer than almost anywhere else in the world, which is really weird to think about. But Detroit was one of the few sites that was selected for a expansion of the Second City Theater back in the 90s. And Detroit was the first of those cities. I mean, it's perfectly situated between Chicago and Toronto, which is where Second City was established for a really long time. So Detroit got a huge influx of artists and education about improv and comedy from a lot of these world-class teachers, performers, directors, and a lot of that stuff infiltrated its way down into our community. And people like myself, back in 99 is when I started taking classes at the Second City right in Detroit, were experienced with a lot of the folks that came through there. My very first teacher at the Detroit Second City was Keegan Michael Key, who just went on to become a nobody. Nobody ever heard of him after that. But
what's that guy up to nowadays? But yeah, Mike and I...
inspired by Wayne Brady? Get the hell out of here.
Mike and I, Cactus House, Mike and I run the Planet Ant Training Center. Our improv and sketch classes. Obviously, our groups are not meeting right now. So we're doing this weekly chat. People stop in and ask us improv questions, and we talk the art form and whatever else people are interested in talking about each week from 5 to 6 on Saturdays. So if you're interested in watching or talking about improv, since none of us can really get in rooms and do it right now, this is a good spot to do it.
I miss it so much.
Cactus House, we do enjoy the old Whose Line Is It Anyway? At least speaking for myself, I do enjoy the old Whose Line Is It Anyway? Yeah, I'm into that shit too, man. Some hardcore shit, Cactus House.
Ryan Stiles is pretty funny.
Ryan Stiles is pretty great. Yeah.
Our specific theater is more focused on long form improv than short form. Short form improv is the style that they do on Whose Line Is It Anyway. We are more focused on scenic based improv, a little bit looser around the edges than short form, and more about building characters with relationships and watching them navigate the kind of worlds that we build on stage.
Yeah, the short form is like games, like, World's Worst Doctor, like, then doing a weird thing and being the world's worst doctor. Whereas long form is just like, hey, let's see this terrible doctor talk to a patient for 3 minutes and see what the hell
I just want to comment that Cactus House thinks that Drew Carey is fat and sexy at the same time.
I don't think he's fat.
He's not.
He lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he was portly. He was on the portlier side when he did Whose Line, but I think he got lap band surgery, right?
Well, hey, money fixes everything, doesn't it? So,
in the 90s, he was fat, so apparently we can still call him fat, even though it's been 20 years.
Yeah, he probably doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be the glasses wearing fat guy anymore, I'm sure. Amazing hairline. Tell me about it, Cactus House.
Oh my goodness.
I'd consume Drew Carey for his hair.
Yeah, we all look up to Drew Carey in some type of way.
Well, we're wrapping up now, though, but if there's any final comments, thoughts, or anything like that, thank you, everybody, for joining us out there in the chat today. Shout out to Tim Weeks. Andy, your next cat's name would be Solo. Is
Solo
that in relation to cup and
Solo
beverage?
Cup.
Solo Cup. If you're going the cup route, I guess, Tim, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Be good.
Or Tervis.
What'd you say?
Tervis, those like hot cold mugs.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But we will be back next. Mike and I will be back with another guest, another member of the Planet Ant Training Center community next week at 5.
Yep. So we will see you then. Lauren, any final thoughts on improv? If you could tell yourself one thing as an improv student when you were starting that's going to help you get to where you want to be, what would that be?
Oh, Lord. Stay confident in yourself and listen to your classmates / whoever you're performing with. That would be those. I mean, that was 2 things, but whatever.
Ensemble. You could just say ensemble. Ensemble.
Yeah. That would be the one thing, is definitely just kind of like not making it about what you want it to be, but rather what people are giving you and how you can build off of it.
Good advice. Love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we don't have to go the exact 2 minutes more that we have. I guess we can just end it here. Unless you have anything interesting, Andy. Do you have any final thoughts?
No.
All right, let's just end it here. We got more to say, but we'll be saying it every week. So, hello, Joe Salvaggio III. We are also in Michigan.
Yes, we are.
Any relation to Nino Salvaggio?
Yeah.
But anyways, we're just ending the stream, Joe. Nice to see you. Good day to you all. Ray, Jeremy, JR, everybody that chimed in on the chat. Von Wenk, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will be seeing you next week. Good night, everybody. I should have had this ready to switch over, but now I do. Here we go. Now it's the end. And here's the title card to prove it.